the enigmatic dance of unspoken affection, is one of the most compelling chapters in the human experience. When a man falls in love but chooses to keep those emotions cloaked in secrecy, he creates a complex psychological landscape filled with subtle contradictions and hidden signals. This silence often stems from a variety of deeply rooted motivations: a fear of vulnerability, the risk of upending a cherished friendship, or perhaps a personal need for certainty before making a life-altering confession. Regardless of the reason, love is a powerful force that rarely stays entirely contained. It tends to leak through the cracks of everyday behavior, manifesting in physical gestures, shifts in attention, and altered priorities that the observant eye can begin to decode. Understanding these signs is not just about satisfying curiosity. It is about recognizing the silent bridge someone is trying to build toward your heart. The transition from platonic interest to romantic devotion changes the way a man processes his environment, specifically when you are in it. Neurochemically, the brain of a man in love is flooded with dopamine, oxytocin, and vasopressin, chemicals that drive him to seek proximity, offer protection, and prioritize your well-being above his own. However, when he is hiding it, he adds a layer of conscious suppression over these biological urges. This creates a fascinating push and pull dynamic. He might be the first person to show up when you need help, yet the last person to look you in the eye during a deep conversation. He may remember every detail of your favorite childhood story, but act completely nonchalant when your name is mentioned in a group. These inconsistencies are not signs of confusion, but rather the friction between his growing feelings and his desire to maintain control over his public image. Furthermore, the digital age and modern social dynamics have added new layers to how these secrets are kept. In a world of instant connectivity, his silence, or his specific way of communicating, becomes a language in itself. Hiding love from everyone often means he is hyper-aware of the audience around you. He might be distant when friends are watching to avoid teasing or gossip, only to become intensely focused and warm the moment you are alone. This protective secrecy often suggests that he values the connection so much that he isn't willing to let outside opinions or pressures tarnish it before it has a chance to fully bloom. It is a protective measure designed to keep the spark safe from the cold air of public scrutiny. Recognizing these 15 signs requires a shift in perspective, moving away from what is said and focusing entirely on what is done. It is found in the way he stands, the way he listens, and the way he remembers. It is a quiet, steady devotion that proves love doesn't always need a loud declaration to be profoundly real. By exploring these behaviors, we pull back the curtain on the silent, internal struggle of a man who is captivated by you, yet tethered by his own caution. Whether he is waiting for the perfect moment or simply waiting for a sign of reciprocation, his actions provide a roadmap to a heart that is already yours, even if his words haven't caught up yet. Through this exploration, you can learn to see the invisible threads of affection that tie him to you, transforming your understanding of your relationship from a mystery into a beautiful, unfolding truth. The subconscious mirroring of your actions. When a man is deeply attracted to you, but attempting to keep those feelings under wraps, his body often betrays his intentions through a psychological phenomenon known as limbic synchrony. Mirroring is an involuntary biological response where he mimics your physical posture, gestures, or even your speaking tempo. If you lean in, he leans in. If you take a sip of your drink, he follows suit moments later. This behavior is rooted in a primal desire to establish rapport and demonstrate that he is in sync with you. Because it happens on a subconscious level, it is one of the hardest signs for him to suppress. By reflecting your movements, he is non-verbally communicating empathy and a deep level of comfort. While he might be careful with his words to avoid revealing his heart, his physical alignment acts as a silent confession of the intense connection he feels toward you. Prolonged eye contact followed by quick aversion. The eyes are often described as the windows to the soul. And in the case of a man hiding his love, they are his biggest giveaway. You may catch him looking at you with a gaze that lingers, just a second longer than a platonic friendship would warrant. This heavy gaze is a result of the brain releasing oxytocin, which drives the urge to maintain visual contact with a person of interest. However, the moment you catch his eye, he will quickly look away or suddenly find something else to focus on. This rapid aversion is a defense mechanism born from the fear of being found out. He wants to soak in your presence and observe your expressions, but his self-consciousness kicks in the instant he feels vulnerable. This push and pull of visual attention creates a palpable tension, signaling that his feelings are far more complex than simple friendship. Protective instincts in crowded environments. Even when a man tries to hide his romantic feelings, his biological protective drive, often referred to as the hero instinct, frequently surfaces in social settings, in a crowded room or a busy street. You might notice him positioning himself between you and the flow of traffic, or placing a hand near the small of your back to guide you through a group. These actions are often subtle and performed with a sense of duty rather than overt affection. He is instinctively scanning the environment to ensure your safety and comfort. While he may not be ready to vocalize his love, he expresses it by creating a safe zone around you. This protective behavior is a significant indicator of emotional investment, as it shows he prioritizes your well-being above his own social ease, acting as a silent guardian, even while he keeps his verbal distance. Recollection of minute details from past conversations. One of the most profound signs of hidden love is the memory test. When a man is truly invested, his brain prioritizes every piece of information you share, no matter how trivial. He might bring up a specific brand of tea you mentioned liking months ago, or ask how a minor project at your work turned out, details that an average friend would likely forget. This high level of retention occurs because he is actively listening with the intent to understand the core of who you are, rather than just waiting for his turn to speak. By remembering the small things, he is demonstrating that you are a focal point of his thoughts. Even if he maintains a casual exterior, this specialized focus reveals that he spends a significant amount of time reflecting on your interactions, proving that you occupy a permanent space in his mental landscape. Physical proximity without direct contact. A man who is hiding his feelings will often find himself gravitating toward your personal space, even if he isn't ready to touch you. This is known as proximity seeking. You will notice that in a group setting, he consistently ends up standing next to you or sitting in the chair closest to yours. He creates excuses to be near you, perhaps to share a joke, or simply to exist in your immediate orbit. This behavior allows him to feel a sense of intimacy and connection without the risk of an overt, romantic gesture that might expose his secret. By staying within your intimate zone, usually within 18 inches, he is testing the waters to see how you respond to his presence. It is a quiet way of claiming space in your life, showing that his heart naturally pulls him toward you despite his best efforts to stay composed. Consistent availability despite a busy schedule. When a man is secretly in love, time becomes his most valuable currency, and he will spend it on you without hesitation. You might notice that no matter how demanding his professional life or personal commitments are, he always manages to find a window for you. If you send a message, he replies promptly. If you mention a problem, he is the first to offer help. This isn't just about being polite, it's about prioritization. By making himself consistently available, he is signaling that you are at the top of his internal hierarchy. He may downplay his efforts by saying, "I was free anyway," but the reality is that he is actively rearranging his world to ensure he doesn't miss an opportunity to connect. This reliability is a cornerstone of emotional devotion, showing that he is willing to sacrifice his own convenience just to be part of your day. Subtle changes in tone and pitch. When speaking to you, the way a man modulates his voice can be a massive, telltale sign of his hidden affection. Research suggests that men often lower the pitch of their voice to a deeper, more resonant tone when speaking to someone they find attractive, which is an unconscious display of masculinity and strength. Conversely, he may adopt a softer, more gentle vulnerability in his tone that he doesn't use with his friends or colleagues. If you pay close attention, you'll hear a warmth or a certain smile in his voice that is reserved exclusively for your conversations. This vocal shift happens because his nervous system is reacting to the emotional intimacy he feels. While he might be saying something completely casual, the melodic quality of his voice betrays the tenderness and special care he holds for you behind his composed exterior. The check-in glance across a room. In a social setting or a party where you are both occupied with different people, a man in love will still maintain an invisible tether to you. You will frequently catch him checking in from across the room. He isn't staring, but rather casting brief, scanning glances to see if you are laughing, if you look comfortable, or who you are talking to. This behavior stems from a desire to share a silent moment of connection even when you are apart. If you happen to catch his eye during one of these glances, he might offer a small, knowing smile or quickly look away to avoid being detected. This constant monitoring is a sign that you are his primary point of interest, regardless of how many other people are vying for his attention. He is mentally with you, even when he is physically across the room. Defending your reputation in your absence. A man who loves you in secret becomes your fiercest advocate when you aren't around. If someone speaks ill of you or questions your intentions, he will be the first to step in and correct them or steer the conversation in a more positive direction. This protective loyalty is a clear indicator of deep respect and emotional bonding. He feels a personal sting when you are criticized because he views you as an extension of his own world. Unlike a casual friend who might stay silent to avoid social friction, a man with hidden feelings will risk the discomfort of a confrontation to preserve your honor. He doesn't do this for credit, since you aren't there to witness it, but because his internal value system is now fundamentally aligned with yours, making your reputation as important to him as his own. Intense, active listening and focused attention. In an age of constant digital distraction, giving someone undivided attention is a profound act of love. When you speak, he doesn't just hear your words. He processes them with an intensity that is rare. He puts his phone away, maintains steady eye contact, and asks follow-up questions that show he is genuinely curious about your perspective. This level of engagement indicates that he values your mind and your opinions above everything else in that moment. You may notice that he remembers the nuances of your feelings or the specific way you describe a situation. By providing this emotional holding space, he is demonstrating a high level of empathy and investment. He wants to be the person who understands you better than anyone else, creating an intellectual and emotional intimacy that serves as a bridge to the love he isn't yet ready to declare. Nervous fidgeting or preening in your presence. Even the most confident man can become a bit unraveled when he is around the person he secretly loves. When you enter the room, you might notice him adjusting his tie, smoothing his hair, or checking his watch repeatedly. These are preening behaviors, subconscious efforts to ensure he looks his best for you. Alongside this, nervous energy often manifests as fidgeting. He might play with his keys, tap his foot, or adjust his seat frequently. This happens because his body is experiencing a rush of adrenaline and dopamine, making it difficult for him to remain perfectly still. He is hyper-aware of your gaze and desperately wants to make a good impression, even if he is trying to act cool. This physical restlessness is a clear sign that your presence affects him on a physiological level, creating a tension that he cannot entirely suppress or hide. Finding subtle excuses to initiate touch. Physical touch is a powerful language of affection, and a man hiding his feelings will often look for safe ways to bridge the gap between you. These touches are usually brief and seemingly accidental, a light brush of his arm against yours while walking, a lingering high five, or removing a stray thread from your coat. He might also use socially acceptable touch, like a hand on your shoulder to get your attention, or a slightly longer hug than usual. These small gestures are his way of testing your boundaries and feeling a physical connection without having to make a grand confession. Each touch is a calculated risk. He is looking for a sign that you don't pull away. This craving for physical proximity is a fundamental human drive toward the person we love, serving as a silent probe to see if the spark is mutual. Showing vulnerability. He conceals from others. One of the most significant indicators of deep love is when a man begins to drop his emotional guard. Most men are socialized to keep their fears, doubts, and past mistakes private. But with you, he starts to let the mask slip. He might share a story about a childhood struggle, a current insecurity at work, or a dream he has never told his friends. By opening up this way, he is showing that he trusts you with his true self. This vulnerability is an invitation into his inner world, a space reserved only for those he truly cares about. Even if he doesn't say, "I love you," the fact that he trusts you with his secrets and his weaknesses is a massive statement of his feelings. He feels safe in your presence, and that emotional safety is the foundation upon which his hidden love is built. Seeking your approval on personal decisions. When a man is in love, your opinion begins to carry more weight than anyone else's. You might notice him asking for your thoughts on things that don't directly involve you, like a new outfit he's considering, a career move, or even how to handle a conflict with a friend. This isn't because he is indecisive. It's because he wants to see if his choices align with your values. He is subconsciously building a life that you would approve of and want to be a part of. By incorporating your feedback into his life, he is making you a silent partner in his decision-making process. This seeking of validation is a sign of deep respect and emotional integration. He cares about what you think because your perspective has become a guiding light for him, proving that you have a significant influence over his heart and his future. Lingering goodbyes and hesitation to leave. The end of an interaction is often the hardest part for a man who is secretly in love. When it's time to say goodbye, you'll notice that he tends to linger. He might start a new conversation just as you're reaching for your keys, or stand by your car talking for another 20 minutes. He is stretching the time because he genuinely doesn't want the connection to end. Even his body language will often stay pointed toward you, showing a reluctance to turn away. These prolonged departures are a sign that being with you is the highlight of his day, and the thought of leaving your presence creates a sense of withdrawal. While he might say a casual "see you later," his hesitation to actually walk away speaks volumes about the depth of his affection and the struggle he feels in keeping those emotions under wraps.